We're going to head out to the fan hotline. You know him, you love him. He used to be an intern here way back in the day. Now he's much better than all of us. NFL Daily Podcast with Greg Rosenthal. He's also NFL.com. The great Nick Shook joins us now. Shookie Monster, what's up?
What's going on, gang? How we doing?
JP doesn't know whether you like the nickname Shookie Monster or not.
I didn't know if Nick just came up with it last hour, if it's a thing you guys, he just always calls you. I'm not sure.
Oh, no, it's always some sort of variation of Shook, Shookie. It's been that way my whole life. And in fact, as far back as when I interned with you guys, I actually had a Twitter handle by the name of Shookie_Cookie, which those who really know like to lean on it. Andy Baskin's one of those ones who likes to point that out every once in a while.
Yeah, the Shookie Cookie, that's another thing you can find on Urban Dictionary, but I just wouldn't do it on a work computer. All right, so we've been talking about the quarterback position here, and I do want to get your take on Shedeur, because Nick Kostos said something earlier today on this station where he said, it's apparent Stefanski doesn't trust Shedeur to run his offense. Do you think that's fair and a fair assessment of where the Browns are with Shedeur to this point?
I mean, you could kind of come to that assumption. I don't know if it's necessarily indicative of how Kevin Stefanski feels. I mean, unless you directly ask him and pose that question, I don't know if I would say it as definitively. It suggests that, but also, I mean, look, who are the Browns at this point? They are a team with two rookie quarterbacks. They've seen a decent amount of performance from one. It has been a low ceiling showing. Their offense is also very limited. They lack capable pass catchers who are able to get open. Jerry Jeudy has not been consistent with his hands this year. They've relied heavily on the tight ends. Their running game is hit or miss because their offensive line has also had to shuffle around. It's not a good set of circumstances for any quarterback. But Dillon Gabriel, I mean, what has he done to lose the job? Well, he threw 2 picks in New England and didn't look very good, but he has done ultimately what is most important in this offense for where the Browns are right now, which is get the ball out on time and largely avoid mistakes. It's just that you're not going to see him airing it out, save for his attempt to try to throw the ball 50 yards downfield and have it intercepted. So I don't know if necessarily they are ready to make a change because they would still like to see more from Dillon Gabriel. You will see Shedeur at some point. I continue to guarantee that you will see him at some point, and I pray for that day to arrive so that we can take all of our tinfoil hats off and stop, believing in some conspiracy that the Browns are trying to sabotage him. I just think it's a matter of they're giving Dillon Gabriel more time to see what he has, and they believe that, he was first in line, he was more capable of run the offense as intended. I don't think that there's some big, effort to or lack of trust in Shedeur necessarily.
But wouldn't it be logical to say, though, if you can say Shedeur's going to see the field this year, then haven't we already exhausted everything we need to out of Dillon Gabriel?
Have you? I mean,
I feel exhausted.
I'm definitely exhausted.
If we could, all right, so let's do this. Let's isolate the actual result of the game and just bring it down to what Dillon Gabriel has done. I feel as though it took him a couple of games to really get comfortable enough to move beyond getting the ball out quickly and trying to find someone else. He really showed that ability on that first drive that the Browns had when they went down and scored a touchdown. I would like to see more of that before I'm ready to go look at the other quarterback. We still have half of a season left. There is plenty of time to get a look. So I know that everybody gets antsy and the wins aren't coming, so you think they're not winning. They keep losing in the same way. Very good defense, very bad offense, and they're held back by their inability to put points on the board. So why not make a change to the offense? I get that. But if you take away the result, remove it from the equation, and just evaluate the quarterback play, I don't feel as though they've reached a point where, like the Saints, benching Spencer Rattler because he had a problem with turnovers. I mean, the guy threw, he was accountable for 6 turnovers, 6 giveaways over the last 2 weeks. That is worth benching when you have a 40th overall pick sitting behind him waiting to get an opportunity. I don't think the Browns are in that same position right now.
Nick, yesterday we had a conversation of how much would, like Drake May, change this offense if you were the Cleveland Browns, because you talked about the surrounding issues. I'm going to flip that on its ear right now. How much would an elite receiver change this offense with Dillon Gabriel at quarterback?
And this is essentially the Joe Flacco experiment, right? You're thinking, okay, let's put Jamar Chase on this roster. The Browns could have done the same thing the Bengals did with Joe Flacco and Jamar Chase. And, I would subscribe to that notion to a degree. I also don't know if that is necessarily the most the smartest thing to consider with this team right now. They're in a position where they have amassed a good amount of draft capital, and they are building for the future. If you want the immediate return, yes, a star receiver would I think elevate this offense, and no matter who's playing quarterback. I think that's true for most any team. But is it, first, those aren't really available without giving up a lot, and I don't think the Browns are in the position to make a deal like that. I could put that on the plate of the Buffalo Bills and even maybe the Baltimore Ravens, but not the Browns.
How interested in Myles Garrett trade conversations are you at this point?
Okay. I wanted to say disinterested entirely because that contract is so big. And also, I mean, are we talking about a trade because the Browns are bad and Myles Garrett's coming off of a 5-sack game and you think, God, he deserves better? Is that why we're talking about this? Would a trade make the Browns better for the long term? And would they be able to, solicit such an offer from an interested party, given that he's making $40 million a year? It's not like teams can just be like, hey, we'll throw you 3 first-round picks for a guy who's going to make $40 million a year. And don't tell me that's what they did for Deshaun Watson. I know that's what they did. That's apples to oranges here. So I lack interest in it because I don't think it's going to happen, and I also don't think it's beneficial for the Browns. As much as everybody in Cleveland, wrings their hands about, Myles Garrett is upset and we're wasting the careers of Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett. You know what happened at the end of Chubb's time in Cleveland. I also believe that Myles Garrett is one of those rare players who probably should only play for one team. I think it was somebody who described it in the offseason when it came to T.J. Watt as a one-helmet guy. That feels like what Myles Garrett should be. That's what Joe Thomas was. Remember when people talked about trading Joe Thomas to Denver and how close it came? It's just, I don't know. I feel like everybody's acting more emotionally than logically. It doesn't make a lot of sense to the Browns unless you could get an incredible haul that would allow you to transform your roster in an offseason.
One helmet guy, also Urban Dictionary. Do not look it up on a work computer. Nick Shook on the fan hotline here, NFL.com. So I will test your theory, because I do believe that there's a price for everything. There's a report out there that the Eagles are hot on the pursuit of Myles Garrett, and that they could offer 3 first-rounders, which, again, most people would assume would fall somewhere between 26 and 32. Would 3 first-round picks constitute the Godfather offer that might make the Browns think about trading Myles Garrett and taking that cap hit?
That is what would require me to even pick up the phone if I was Andrew Berry. Even at this stage in Myles Garrett's career, the 30-year-old mark and everything else, because he's that special of a player. So that's what would bring me to the table, but I think that's the minimum that you would ask for a player of his caliber. Also, you have to consider, like you just said, where the Eagles' picks would land. Now, the Eagles' first-round picks have been valuable in the past because Howie Roseman is a hell of a general manager. He's great at drafting the top talent remaining at his spot. He's gotten a number of great guys later in the back half of the first round. Do you trust Andrew Berry with that same, drafting aptitude at the back end of the first round? And if those are year after year, that gives the Browns 3 first-round picks this year. That would give them 2 in the future years. That would help them turn this team around for the long haul. And then you have to weigh, okay, do you want Myles Garrett over the next 4 years, or do you want those draft picks to try to, invigorate their roster? And that's where you get into the risk assessment versus, a known commodity. So it would really come down to what you're aiming for. The weird thing about the Browns right now is, Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are not operating as if they are a regime that is under threat of losing their jobs, it's strange. It's rare because you just don't see that with a team that has struggled as much as the Browns have over the last 2 years. So you would think they would have some leeway to make a deal like this to stock up on first-round picks, but do they have that much leeway that they're around 3 years from now to see that last first-round pick, or is that ammunition to move up? Would they want to move up? A lot of different factors involved here that kind of makes the situation a little more murky than the standard trade talk.
How connected do you feel like Stefanski and Berry are as far as the jobs are concerned? Like, are we going to have a chance where one keeps the job and the other doesn't, or is it both are gone if anything even happens at all?
I feel like they're a tandem, like they're a package deal. And, I mean, let's think about it. Who has the better track record to this point? It's probably Kevin Stefanski than Andrew Berry. I mean, he's got the 2 Coach of the Year honors. He navigated a season in which, they cycled through 5 starting quarterbacks and made the playoffs, thanks to Joe Flacco, which you could say, well, that's Andrew Berry's work, signing Joe Flacco off the couch. But overall, since they've been in Cleveland, I feel like Stefanski has probably achieved more than Berry has. But if you're going to make a change, you make a wholesale regime change. You change both of them. And just judging by the tone of Jimmy Haslam and the way that the Browns have gone about their business this year, it feels like neither expects to get fired. Which, I run into people in Cleveland. I live in Cleveland, and they're like, "Oh, so when's Stefanski getting fired?" And I just look at him blankly and say, "He's not." Because this is not about this year, and the quicker that everybody accepts that, it makes all the losses that await them a little more palatable.
All right, we're going to do a quick thing of buy or sell here. So I'll give you a premise or a team, and then you tell me whether you're buying or selling, and give me like a 15-second explanation. Fair?
Yeah.
The Colts are for real.
Come on now. Yes, I agree. They are for real. I am buying that because... Look, I wanted to get off the Daniel Jones bandwagon, or not even just pay attention to it, but they're a well-oiled machine offensively, and they're playing above their heads defensively. The key part is their offensive line is playing a lot better than anybody expected.
All right, Jerry Dulac is reporting that Mike Tomlin, or that the Rooney family is getting a little, maybe their patience is wearing thin with Mike Tomlin. So the buy or sell is Steelers would actually move on from Mike Tomlin after this year.
If the Steelers moved on from Mike Tomlin, you would find me flat on the ground like a starfish. Okay, that's exactly
also
how
an Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, sounds fun.
That's exactly how shocked I would be about it. They're not going to fire him. This happens every year. What, they lost a Sunday night game to the Packers in which they looked overmatched defensively in the second half because they have an old defense. That's a highly paid old defense. I'm sorry. I cannot get on board with the Tomlin firing thing. They just gave him an extension. I'm not buying it.
All right, final one. The Ravens will win the AFC North. Buy or sell?
I love this, and I wish you asked me this a week from now, like when I get a closer look at the Ravens with Lamar back. Oh, I'm buying, baby, because I don't believe the Steelers are going to be able to hold on to that. It's going to take a big turnaround for the Ravens, but I think they have it within them.
Shookie, you're the best, buddy. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you, too. Thanks for having me, guys.
Nick Shook, NFL.com.